Good evening. It's 11 o'clock in the nation's capital. Martin Wyatt has highlights of the Bullets, Caps, golf, you name it. Paul Anthony has the week's weather outlook. I'm Ann Sawyer. This is news. A joint communique winding up President Carter's visit to Nigeria indicates that country does not share his displeasure over Cuban and Soviet personnel in Africa. The communique does not mention the issue at all, although President Carter stressed it frequently during his visit. The president winds up his overseas tour tomorrow with a 4-hour stop in Liberia, whose president is descended from Georgia slaves. Judy Woodruff has a report on Carter's second day in Nigeria.
President Carter is a Baptist, so is his Nigerian host. What more logical place for them to be on a Sunday morning in Lagos than in a Baptist church? Mr. Carter led a congregation of 500 in prayer.
Let us strive ever more deeply to live according to the example which he has set.
There was a crowd outside waiting to see the Carters leave with Nigeria's General Olusegun Obasanjo, who shed his military uniform today for native African robes. After a round of diplomatic talks with the general, Mr. Carter headed to the water for a tour of a new port facility. Lagos has the busiest harbor in West Africa. The last thing on the president's schedule here was a state dinner, followed by the traditional polite diplomatic gesture, the signing of a joint communique. It emphasizes something the two leaders agree on, that they don't accept the plan of the white minority government in Rhodesia to turn control over to the blacks, a plan the U.S. has recently come down harder on because it doesn't involve black radicals. Judy Woodruff, NBC News, with the president in Lagos, Nigeria.
Syria today charged that an Israeli unit crossed the Golan Heights ceasefire line and planted a landmine that killed 12 people. In Tel Aviv, the Israeli government denied any of its units had crossed the ceasefire line in occupied Syria. In another development, the Israeli cabinet discussed Defense Minister Ezer Weizman's visit to Egypt. Cairo reports now say Weizman will return to Egypt this week. Foreign Minister Moshe Dayan reported that Israel will welcome any resumption of the Israeli-Egyptian thaw, but it's still not clear whether there might be a resumption of the direct Begin-Sadat talks. For nearly 20 years, a group of area residents has been protesting the construction of Interstate 66 through northern Virginia. Today, the protesters, joined by a later generation, took their complaint to the home of a cabinet member. Bill Aylward reports.
This is the home of Secretary of Transportation Brock Adams on Albemarle Street in northwest Washington. Normally, this is a quiet neighborhood, but not today. The folks who are protesting the construction of I-66 are here to bring the sounds of traffic to the front door of the Secretary's home.
Brock Adams' home, because we tried to reach him through official channels, we get rejected, we get rebuffed. Today, because it's a nice quiet Sunday and it's a nice quiet residential neighborhood of the sort that his highway will be destroying in Arlington, and we object to that. We resent it bitterly. We'll have traffic jams from the bridge all the way out to Fairfax County because highways invite automobiles, and we want him to know what a traffic jam smells like and sounds like and looks like. We figure he's in a nice, safe neighborhood up here, and he doesn't think about things like that, and he doesn't understand what he's doing to us. He has not reviewed this highway on its merits. He accepted a political deal that was made between Secretary Coleman and Governor Mills Godwin in order to get metro money out of the state of Virginia.
Police looked on uneasily as the group known as Contact interfered with traffic flow along the street, and then quietly warned the protesters that tickets would be issued unless traffic was allowed to move freely. Contact members say that they will not cease their protest until I-66 construction is stopped completely. This is Bill Aylward, News Center 4.
Coming up, 2 New York City policemen shot to death, the latest in the Hillside strangler case. Some middlemen who helped drive up food prices, a frisbee festival, and Paul Anthony with the week's weather.
I'm 28 and a half, and incredibly enough, I've never had a date. Well, this morning I received a note in my mailbox. It said, "Have you ever considered washing?" So I'm going to wash myself in front of everybody. It may not get me a date, but it makes me feel so good.
Wash with the Stars, 97.1 FM. For the first time this year, we have 1978 Honda cars for immediate delivery at Rosenthal Honda. The Honda hatchback, one small car for man, one giant back seat for man's things. 78 Honda cars delivered at low sale prices at Rosenthal Honda, one of America's largest Honda dealers, just over Key Bridge in Arlington, Virginia.
2 New York City policemen were killed today in a shootout on a Brooklyn street with 2 robbery suspects. One of the gunmen was also killed, the other seriously wounded. Police said the 2 officers stopped the suspects on the street because they resembled 2 men suspected of committing a series of armed robberies. Police in Los Angeles tonight are saying they may have to release the 2 latest suspects in the so-called Hillside strangler murders unless they can come up with some more evidence linking the men to the killings. We have a late report from Warren Wilson.
Los Angeles police had watched the apartment of Peter Jones for 2 weeks. Police says George Shamshak had given them details of 2 murders implicating himself and Jones. But police didn't find physical evidence needed to charge either man with murder.
Still have what we believe to be probable cause to hold Mr. Jones, but I don't think at this time that we would have sufficient evidence to go forward with a complaint.
Will you be going over there on Monday to the DA's office?
We will want to sit down with the district attorney and evaluate all of the information, all of the evidence that we have at that particular time.
After having been apprised of the evidence which was made available to me against him, and after having spoken with him, my initial impression is that he's absolutely innocent of any complicity in any murders of any kind.
Peter Jones was arrested on the basis of Shamshak's statements to police. He was booked in connection with 2 of the 13 so-called Hillside strangulations. He must be formally charged or released by Tuesday night. Shamshak has not even been booked for investigation, but is being held as a convicted robber. He hired a new lawyer to try to make a deal with Los Angeles police, but until police get enough physical evidence to go to trial, they can't make a deal. So, Los Angeles police apparently don't have the big break they thought they had in trying to solve the 13 so-called Hillside strangler murders. Warren Wilson, NBC News, Los Angeles.
In Chile, a judge has interrogated an American citizen and a Chilean army officer in connection of the Washington murder of Orlando Letelier. Chile will turn over the records of the questioning to the Justice Department, which also wants to question the 2 directly. The U.S. citizen is Michael Townley, who moved to Chile at the age of 14. When food prices go up, the farmers who grow the food and the grocers who sell it complain they're not making all that extra money. Some of it goes to the middlemen, a hidden cost in food production that drives up consumer prices. Richard Anderson has a report on a group of middlemen working at Washington area food stores.
Safeway spends millions of dollars to have food brought to this warehouse, put in their warehouse. But many of the drivers who roll into the yard are too tired from driving to spend 4 hours unloading. Besides, it's not in their contract. Then why doesn't Safeway unload the trucks themselves?
When we pay for the product, it's for delivery on the dock. It's as simple as that. We feel we've paid for it once, and we don't want to pay for it again.
Enter the lumpers. These men, professional unloaders who work for themselves, not Safeway, and not the trucking company. They say they charge according to the load, but the cost is usually about $50 per trailer. A government regulation says the men have to wear hard hats and white smocks, so Safeway supplies them. But they make the men sign a waiver not to hold Safeway responsible if they get hurt on the job. So they're working for themselves. The lumper fills the gap in the distribution process, doing what the drivers say they don't want to do and what Safeway says it shouldn't have to do. Charlie Chase brings chickens to Safeway, and he says he usually unloads his own truck. The lumpers stay out of his way.
Have you ever tried to unload and the lumper tell you that you got to pay him to unload?
No, sir.
What would you do if one told you that?
They can't, unless it's a union warehouse or something like that, and they're under union, they can't tell you that.
And that's why the FBI and the Interstate Commerce Commission is looking at the lumpers. They want to make sure no one is doing any arm twisting when it comes to unloading. Tom Schulten just brought in thousands of pounds of beef. Unloading is dirty, bloody work, and Schulten doesn't want to do it. So his company gives him a check for the lumpers. He cashes it and pays them.
Or the company pays it, so, it doesn't make any difference to me.
So whether it's $50 or $100, it really doesn't make any difference to you, right?
Well, well, because it's not coming out of my pocket. But if it was coming out of my pocket, it'd make a difference.
And then you pay for it when you turn around and buy the meat at the store, though.
Yeah, that's true.
We were told that none of the lumpers who work here have to pass any kind of health examination or physical, but then neither do the regular employees. In the long run, Safeway says it's cheaper to let the lumpers continue to work. Since they're not company employees, the company doesn't have to pay vacation time, unemployment, workman's compensation, and sick time for the lumpers. But the trucker, independent driver, and big companies alike are paying, and the lumper cost is added to every trailer which backs up here. In the end, it's the consumer who pays for it all. Richard Anderson, News Center 4.
I'm Tina Galland on the Federal Beat for WRC All News 98.
I'm Pat Buchanan.
I'm Tom Braden, and this is Confrontation.
The stock market took a long way to turn upward today. I'm Frank Barnaco, and here's the business.
Tune us in for a while. Get what you need to know on WRC All News Radio. Me and my arrow.
Meet the Plymouth Arrows for $78.
Taking the high road.
With a wide hatch and fold-down rear seat.
Me and my arrow.
Tinted glass, tilt wheel, and reclining buckets. And every Arrow has our new MCA jet system, an air injection system that rates this Arrow at 39 miles per gallon highway, 29 city.
Your Washington Metro Chrysler Plymouth dealers are overstocked with Arrows. Great selection, great deals. See them today.
Hey, natural yogurt lovers, I think you deserve to know. If you want to stick with your present natural yogurt, you better not taste Breyer's all-natural strawberry yogurt, because once you've discovered its creamy, smooth texture, its abundance of strawberries, there's no turning back.
Creamy smooth, full of fruit, and 100% natural. Breyer's, real yogurt at its best.
I thought you deserved to know.
Flying saucers landed all over the mall today, and we didn't get that from Orson Welles. It was the second and final day of a major frisbee tournament put on by the Washington Frisbee Club. Altogether, 11 teams turned out from Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and New York. The D.C. club finished fourth. If you want to check out the Washington team in person, they play every Sunday on the Monument grounds. Glassboro State of New Jersey won the weekend tournament, and 350 people turned out to watch the action. Paul Anthony's been watching the weather action, and he's going to tell us what's going on.
Well, we had 1 week of good weather, and now we got this week of, nothing so great. We had a beautiful day today, though, a little crisp, but it was pleasant. We got up to 60 degrees. It was very nice. And the precipitation began to fall tonight in parts of the area. We got a call from Burke, Virginia, and they said it's raining, despite the fact that when we call the weather, it says there's no rain in the forecast. Well, it's basically condensation from a Gulf flow of moist air from the south. We'll tell you more about that in a few minutes or so. But anyway, you're going to have some rain activity tomorrow, surely on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then it's a little too early to tell what the rest of the week's going to hold in store for us. Let's take a look at our statistics now for the day and then the maps. Cloudy, occasional light rain tonight, lows around 35 to 40. There's some actual footage taken today on the gorgeous Potomac. All right, and the present temperature 9 degrees Celsius, 48 Fahrenheit, humidity 40%, winds north-northeast at 10, barometer 30-41 and steady. And sunrise, sunset, and the tides, high and low for tomorrow. What we have is high pressure down here, which continues to bring that southwesterly flow of air. That's going to change now pretty much. But this is moving a warm front up here, which brought a lot of moist air up from the Gulf of Mexico. And this is now, with the cooler temperatures tonight, kind of dropping out, overrunning as they call it, and it's dropping some rain, shower activity in our area. This will persist for the next couple of days. Normally this would move on out of here, except that we have high pressure centered in Quebec province, which is bringing in a very strong, it's a strong high pressure ridge, which is preventing this from moving up here. So this is going to linger for a little while. I just dropped part of my warm front. Now, we have a low with a trailing cold front here, which is bringing precipitation to this area. We had snow up in the northern part of the country today, 3 inches of snow in International Falls, Minnesota, They also, this is Sault Ste. Marie with the overnight low of 11. That's the coldest in the country. But the snow through North Dakota, South Dakota, Wisconsin, Minnesota, all the way along the line here. This will move into our area a little later on in the week, and that is likely to bring us some precipitation as well. Checking our area, considerably colder temperatures tomorrow, 50 along the shore, 55 for us, 49 in the mountains, winds north at 10 knots. Check our forecast quickly then for tomorrow. Cloudy and cool, chance of showers, better chance at night, highs 50 to 55, lows 40 to 45. And Tuesday, variable cloudiness, warmer, chance of showers, highs 60 to 64. Wednesday through Friday, mild through the period with a chance of showers on Wednesday and Friday, highs in the 60s, lows in the 40s. And that's it. I'll see you a little later. Ann?
Looks like April showers again, huh? Still ahead tonight, Hollywood is getting ready to hand out its biggest awards, the Oscars. Martin Wyatt has sports, including the Caps and Bullets games, and some winners and losers in today's Cherry Blossom Marathon.
I bought an economy car, nice little car. Of course, I gave up big car ride.
I bought a smaller car, gave up a lot of passenger room, but with the prices going up and up, you've got to give up and up.
Well, I didn't give up. I bought this Volare four-door. I got the big car ride he gave up, the room for 6 he gave up, plus the compact economy they didn't give up. So why didn't they get a Volare? I give up.
Don't give up. For just $39.26, get a new Plymouth Volare.
Don't give up. Get a Volare.
Convenience is the word for Citizens Bank of Maryland. Convenience, too, with your free Citizens Bank MasterCharge card. Stop in and apply. It's the card that gives you instant credit almost anywhere. MasterCharge from Citizens Bank of Maryland.
Daytime, nighttime, Saturday too, we open our doors. Citizens Bank of Maryland, conveniently yours.
Member FDIC.
With the help of a computer, scientists have designed and produced what they call the most potent anti-cancer drug ever made. An agent so lethal it kills hundreds of millions of cancer cells in laboratory mice with a single dose. The new drug, called azithromycin, is only in the early stages of animal safety testing, and its effectiveness in humans is unknown. Researchers from the University of California at San Francisco said the drug might be years away from human tests. The first Academy Awards were given out 50 years ago. Tomorrow night, the Hollywood film community continues the tradition. And Jim Brown reports that the Glitter City is getting ready.
Even see the demonstrations. They'll watch Hollywood's finest arrive. And this year, the Best Actress Oscar takes on special meaning, because all the nominees are in films about women. Anne Bancroft and Shirley MacLaine in The Turning Point. Jane Fonda in Julia. Diane Keaton in Annie Hall. And Marsha Mason as the Goodbye Girl.
An actor.
In 1928, many heroines were sweet and sentimental, and this role in Seventh Heaven helped give Janet Gaynor the first Oscar for a woman. Miss Gaynor doesn't like what comes off the screen now.
You know, I think the whole thing has deteriorated a bit. I don't mean to make an all-over statement like that, because, of course, there still are good writers, but it just seems to me that the language itself has deteriorated so, and that to portray the kind of people that speak the way they're supposed to speak, you know, it's limited. I think the roles that people play and the types.
Despite that feeling toward contemporary films, tomorrow night Janet Gaynor will bridge 50 years of Academy Award history when, as the first woman to win an Oscar, she presents that award to this year's winner. Jim Brown, NBC News, Los Angeles.
Arlington residents got a chance today to view arts and crafts of years gone by. Area churches held a craft fair at St. Andrew's Episcopal Church. Craft co-ops from the hills of North Carolina displayed almost forgotten arts of weaving, quilting, carving, mountain music, and even the gee-haw, the whirling diddle.
This is an ancient mountain toy, has a history of well over 200 years. And if you say gee, it goes in that direction. And if you say haw, it goes in that direction.
Some other items in the news tonight. Former President Gerald Ford canceled a string of appearances this weekend to go home to Palm Springs and his wife Betty. A family spokesman says Mrs. Ford has a bad cold, arthritis, and a pinched nerve in her neck is still bothering her. In Brownson, Nebraska, a railroad tank car filled with liquid phosphorus exploded, injuring 6 people. The area was evacuated. The fumes are not fatal, but they can irritate the skin. And Congress comes back to work here in Washington tomorrow after its Easter recess. It still has to take up the Panama Canal treaties and a postal reform bill. And the House Ethics Committee will hear its first public testimony from Korean millionaire Tongsun Park.
When you hear beautiful music, you're listening to WJMD, FM 94.
At Datsun, we are driven to build economy cars of such excellent quality they'll last you years. Datsun's 210GX, great looking, a car with 5-speed transmission that'll get you 48 miles per gallon highway, 36 city. The GX has everything: radial tires, fully reclining bucket seats, rear window defoggers, and power front disc brakes, all standard in this mileage champion. Test drive the economy price GX at one of your 11 Washington area Datsun dealers today.
You can't do that. Yes, I can. I'm the neighborhood professional. You are? Uh-huh. I'm specially trained, experienced, dependable, friendly, and know all about this. What's this? Stuff you gotta learn to be a neighborhood professional. Looks real hard. Oh, it is.
Century 21. There's more to a gold jacket than meets the eye.
Martin Wyatt has a world of sports for us, and with no further chit-chat, here he is.
We have to start with the Capitals. They played probably the best team in sports, and you would have thought that they had just won the Stanley Cup. Over 12,000 fans went wild at the Cap Center. They tied Montreal. That is the first time in 4 years and 24 meetings that the Canadiens have not walked away a winner. 4-all is the tie. And as I said, it looked like for a while that Montreal was going to rout them. The fans had barely sat down when Steve Shutt blasted a 50-footer past Bedard. Bedard was 30 feet away from his net. Then with the power play on, the Caps gave up a gimme. Serge Savard set up Doug Jarvis beautifully. It was 2-0 Montreal. A little pairing up near the end of the first period seemed to fire the Caps up, and they opened the second with a bang. Rookie Robert Picard off of Chiron's feed after a face-off, his 10th goal of the year. It was 2-1 Montreal. 4 minutes later, Gary Meehan took the puck off of Jacques Lemieux's stick. Meehan streaked to the goal with Ace Bailey trailing. Bailey picks up the goal. It's 2-all, tied. Lemieux now angry about losing the puck. He comes right back and he beats Bedard with a 22-footer. He gets his 36. It's 3-2 Montreal. The Caps still fighting back. Guy Chiron takes a nice pass from Sirois, a 25-footer, his 37th. That's a new club record. It's 3-all. Now, this is the best team in hockey. When they need a goal, they go to Guy Lafleur. Lafleur got his 58, a nice assist. It was 4-3 Montreal. With 3:33 left in the game, Rick Green with a hard shot. Tom Rowe in the slot tips it, and it's 4-4. The benches and the fans go wild. They did not win the Stanley Cup, but a big moral victory for the Caps. 4-all tie with Montreal. Brian Trottier's 45th goal for the Islanders. They have a 5-point edge over the Flyers in the Patrick Division. They down Detroit. The Barons bomb playoff-bound Chicago Blackhawks 4-2. It was, would you believe, Atlanta 4-2 over Buffalo. And Wayne Cashman had 4 goals as Boston downed the Rangers 8-3 and Toronto down Pittsburgh 6-3. There were some surprises on the pro golf links. Youth was served on the PGA Golf Tour. A young man, too young to vote. In fact, not even a citizen of this country is now $40,000 richer. And on the women's tour, their richest prize has gone north. Canadian Sandra Post took the winner's circle, so along with Severiano Ballesteros winning the Greater Greensboro Open, and a lot of bucks are leaving this country. Young Severiano Ballesteros of Spain overhauled the leaders with a course record 6 under par 66. Jack Renner had a chance to tie, but he bogeyed 18 with Severiano watching. This was his second shot went into the sand. and Severiano watched as young Jack Renner has a chance to time and force this into a sudden death playoff. Fuzzy Zeiler birdied 18, and he picked up a share of second, and there's the fellow who won it in the upper right. The ladies' tour, Penny Putes forced the extra holes as she tied Sandra Post with this long putt on 18. That forced it into extra playoff, but she missed what could have been, well, this was her par putt. She missed it, and Sandra Post made an 18-inch par putt on the second extra hole, and that made it a $36,000 putt for her as one of the top prizes on the women's tour. While the Caps were handling the best in the National Hockey League, handling them to the form of a 4-all tie, the Bullets continued their fast fade, losing to one of the once great team in the NBA. Right now it's not very much, the New York Knicks. Elvin Hayes missed only his 5th game in a 10-year career. The Big E was attending his grandmother's funeral. Still, it was no excuse for the Bullets. They have lost 4 straight at home, 6 of their last 8 at the Cap Center. The Knicks' Lonnie Sheldon, fined along with Mitch Kupchak for fighting in their last meeting, had 20 first-half points on his way to 25 total. But it was Ray Williams feeding Bob McAdoo backdoor here who led a fourth-quarter spurt, and they nailed down the win. Williams had 15, McAdoo 25. Mitch Kupchak, responding to Shelton's challenge, started for Hayes. He poured in 30 points, but after Mitch, there wasn't much to pick from. Charlie Johnson did fire in 21 points, but still the Bullets guards shot a miserable 30%, and that's going to hurt them. Bullets still need a win in the remaining games to clinch a playoff berth, or they need a loss by Atlanta. Atlanta did not cooperate today. They defeated New Jersey. Philadelphia losing to San Antonio. It was Detroit losing to Milwaukee. Denver over Houston by 9. And the Celtics, their playoff hopes are officially over. They lost to Indiana by 3. The Suns clinched at least a tie for second place in the Pacific Division with a win over Golden State. And Seattle, well, they downed the slumping Trailblazers by 15. Kansas City at Los Angeles just getting underway. You know, it's pretty easy to sum up the feelings of Vitas Gerulaitis, one of the most talented tennis players in the world today. It is frustrated. For the second time in 8 days, he's been defeated by Bjorn Borg for a World Championship tennis tournament title. This time it was in Milan, Italy. It took Borg just 7 minutes to polish off his rival 6-3, 6-3 straight sets. Gerulaitis is getting a complex. He says he wants more than anything else to defeat Borg. Brian Gottfried took the Dayton Pro Classic with a 2-6, 6-5, 7-6 margin over Eddie Dibbs. Gottfried $15,000 richer. Dibbs a $7,500 loser. In the Slims Championship Tournament in Oakland, Martina Navratilova defeated Yvonne Goolagong 7-6, 6-4. The first set, a tiebreaker, went to Martina 5-love. That win was worth $50,000. And the Long Beach Grand Prix, Argentina's Carlos Rediman, the winner, defending champion Mario Andretti, finished second. And while thousands were fighting the fumes and sounds of the Grand Prix racers in California, a more aesthetic race lured over 2,600 participants for a 10-mile run along the Potomac River. The 6th annual Cherry Blossom Classic attracts some of the top long-distance runners in this country. The field included some, over 70, and there was an 8-year-old and a huge contingent of women. In fact, this field rivals that of the famed Boston Marathon. One man who, however, stood head and shoulders above the rest, Bill Rogers. He left the pack in his dust. He won in a record 48 minutes and 57 seconds. This is Rogers' 3rd win in the Cherry Blossom. In '75, he set the American record for the Boston Marathon. So records are not new to Rogers, but he said that he had help in setting today's mark. He was pushed a little bit. And I must admit that I'm a jogger. My secret ambition is to run in a marathon. In fact, I'm going to give him a plug here. The D.C. Lung Association Celeb Race goes next Sunday, and I'm going to run it. It starts at 1:30 at the Ellipse.
Okay, thank you, Martin Wyatt. And thank you for joining News Center 4. For News Tomorrow, it's our two gems, Vance and Hart.